Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is basically a summary of my year as a speech and language therapy student at City University in my first year of my masters. So I'm just going to do like a summary of my year, what was good, what wasn't good, what happened. And yeah, I just thought it might be like quite helpful to see. Like I think this is something I would have liked to have seen before I started my course, especially as a first year. Started in September last year, so for those going in this year, I thought it'd be good. I'm out of breath and I'm not really sure why, so sorry about that. I don't have COVID, I've been doing lateral flows. Yeah, so I started September 2020 and then finished this year in July, like mid-July. So it is quite a long year, it's quite an intense course. I think everyone knows that's going in. It is a lot because it is the used to be 4 years BSc condensed into 2 years. But obviously I do have the skills in my undergrad that kind of apply. Yeah, anyway, so I started in September 2020 and in that first few weeks, we started like 1st of September. In those first few weeks, we did 2 weeks. It was quite intense anatomy and physiology, just so that we understood all the underlying structures, do basically from here to here, the blood flow, everything like that you need to be able to speak, swallow. Actually, it's down to here because it included your lungs. But yeah, all very, very interesting. If you haven't studied for a while, it was quite a lot, and obviously for me it was all done over Zoom, so I didn't really know anyone, and it's really difficult to make friends over a group chat, especially when there's quite a lot of people in it. And also in breakout rooms they're always so awkward and then yeah, so we did all of that, and then I think we started our actual lectures end of September, October kind of time, and we did actually in October have an exam on anatomy and physiology, so it was all quite quick but very, very good. And you know, if you keep on top of it, you do the prep work, you go to the lecture, ask questions in the lecture about the prep work. If you've got any, then you're fine. It's just you don't want to get behind, because I feel like you'd really struggle to catch up. I think like that's basically, that is a fact, you know, you would struggle to catch up. And then, so the modules we kind of covered over the year: phonetics and phonology, I really struggled with this one, brain and behaviour, like psychology and research methods. I always forget this one: child speech disorders and disfluency. Disfluency is like stammering or stuttering. Then it was dysphagia and dementia. Dysphagia is swallowing, which actually, I guess I was kind of surprised, but dysphagia is quite a big part of being a speech and language therapist, and I think quite a lot of people go in with a child based background, you know, in nurseries and things like that. And to be honest, I think it would probably be shocking, like well, not shocking, but like I guess I was just surprised. I didn't realise how dysphagia was on a lot of caseloads that speech and language therapists deal with. Personally, that suits me because I found it really interesting. But yeah, so dysphagia and dementia, and then linguistics, I think it was just linguistics, which if you've got like an English background, I think you'll probably find it quite easy, and even phonology and phonetics probably as well. And then 107, it was, sorry, they're called 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, was basically placement and like professional standards, and basically anything you need to be a professional is what 107 was. They did lots to do with being reflective, being a good speech therapist. And also in the first time, which I always forgot about, is you had to do like online courses, lots of which you probably have done before, but you just have to pass them to continue. So by online course, I mean things like safeguarding, all these things, you know, that you would look for as a professional on placement. Because the people you look after are usually vulnerable people, safeguarding is even more important, but also things to do with confidentiality, all of that, you do little courses about, and that kind of ties into 107. And that's kind of what we did for the year. In terms of assessments, again, I was a COVID, like peak COVID kind of student. So all of it was online. So assessments, we had multiple choice assessments and like short answers that were, you know, you'd have an hour to do it. You could do it at any time in the 24 hours. I thought that was quite good because obviously there's people that are abroad, there's people with children, there's people like me that don't really have anything else to do, so I'd rather get it over with at 9 AM. And then we also had essays, assignments, like basically the same thing. We had case studies. On our placements we had to do a portfolio where we collected information about a specific patient, spoke about all of their difficulties, why we were involved, who else was involved, what we did for assessment and why, and all our rationales. Sorry, I don't know why my hands are like. Well, the other thing for 107, which was a clinical exam, which I found quite difficult and that you had to do for placement, for both my placements actually, I had to record a session with a patient or client, show to my clinical tutor. So I had to hold up the iPad so they could watch my video, and then I had to reflect on my video, say what I thought I did well, what I need to improve on. That was all kind of helpful because for my clinical exam we had to do that for a therapy session. I don't know if it is the same every year, but I think if you go to City it probably is pretty similar. Yeah, so that's kind of what we had to do. So I said I started September, the term ended around the 18th of December I think, and you do have a placement that starts for 1 day a week. Well, this is what I had a placement that was 1 day a week that started in the January, so after Christmas, and that continued until April for me. So that was 1 to 2 days a week, and then at the same time you do have lectures and other stuff going on as well. So again, organisation is quite key. And then April time was a big assessment time. We had a lot. I think I had 8 assessments, beginning of April and end of April basically, which was quite intense, quite a lot. Some people might not think that's very intense. Some people might be like, how did you manage that? But you do just crack on because you don't really have much of a choice. So I had the assessments in April, and then we did a second placement that started end of May. So I did have a bit of a break. We did have some extensions due to COVID reasons and how intense that April was. So there was one of the assignments was extended to the middle of May, but it was my birthday around that time and I kind of just wanted to be done with it. I had a bit of time off in May. I pretty much just chilled, and then started placement end of May, which was 3 days a week. Then we had a day of lectures on the Monday, which is all, again, it's 107 stuff, so professional stuff. Yeah, so that was the Monday, and then I was in placement Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And yeah, 16th of July, that was me done. Yes, you have to retake, which you do in August time, but luckily, thank goodness, I don't have to. Yeah, so I'm gonna speak now about my placements. So my past experience, I had shadowed in hospitals, I had worked with preschool aged children, I had worked in a school in Kenya, all very random but good, I say good stuff, I'll just flatter myself, but basically appropriate stuff for speech therapy. My January placement was peak COVID after, so we had a lockdown that started, it was over Christmas, wasn't it? It was all a bit of carnage. So I started kind of peak COVID times. I was working with COVID patients, but personally I didn't live with anyone vulnerable. I'm personally not that vulnerable, I don't think, so I didn't really mind. But I was in a hospital working with adults in an acute setting, which was just basically any people that came into the hospital for many reasons that needed speech therapy. I did a lot of observation to start with because obviously I've never been on placement before, and then we started to do some assessments. I was on placement with another girl as well, which it is nice to share the experiences together. Yeah, and so I did a lot of assessments, and also halfway through my placement, my practice educator actually swapped to a stroke ward, which was really good, different to acute. I think it's slightly easier because in what I thought the stroke was slightly easier. Maybe it's because I was on the other side of my placement, but I think because you kind of know as a speech therapist what you're likely to get, and as a student I was doing mostly assessments, so it was mostly to do with aphasia, dysarthria, few voice as well, patients, but obviously because in stroke they have lots of assessments and they have to be seen every day, it wasn't as not as important, but also, you know, if I miss something as a student, it's not the end of the world because someone's either likely already picked it up or they'll pick it up tomorrow. Whereas in the acute setting, you know, they might see them once a week. So I always had someone with me, especially at the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, it was really, really good. And when you're on placement, you have a practice educator who is the person that lives, don't live there, the person that works in the hospital. Then you have your clinical tutor from uni and they communicate with your practice educator about you and how you're doing. And at the end of placements, you have to have passed, so you go through your goals and everything that you set at the beginning with your practice educator, and it all gets sent off to your clinical tutor so that you know you've passed the placement. So that ended in April, and then exams, and then I started, I think I didn't start actually till the 2nd of June because mine was on a Wednesday. I worked in a children's hospital, which I absolutely loved. It definitely was something that I want to do. It's quite a specialist hospital. My practice educator was amazing and so helpful and supportive, and the whole team were great. Like, I loved being there, and also I just like I've always like loved children, but I think I really enjoyed the medical setting, working with the parents, working with the young children. Quite a lot of the children were very young, so below a year, which I really, really enjoyed as well. Yeah, so I loved that. So that was 3 days a week, which I preferred because, you know, you're in the first day, you kind of have a little catch up from the week before, work at the patients you're going to see, and then you've got Thursday and Friday to like carry on and continue. So that was really, really nice to have. Whereas last placements, it was 1 day a week, so you'd do a week on catch up, and then you'd be like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I've forgotten things, and even like the code for the door, I always forgot like every single week. Whereas in the second placement, obviously things like that you can't forget because you're in a lot more, and you just get to know the team a lot better. And I did feel on my second placement I was included much more as a team member rather than just a student, which I know could be partially with the setting, but also partially because at the beginning I needed to be a lot more looked after. Also with another girl on my placement that got on well with in the second placement, so it's really nice again to have someone to work with and also just chat with. But yeah, so that was the placements. In terms of the people in the course, actually I'll do lectures first. Lecturers, again, don't feel like I know very well. I asked a few questions here and there, but I guess no one would really know who I am. I rarely had my camera on unless we're in breakout rooms, just usually because I was snacking. In terms of the lecturers, they all seemed really nice. Most replied pretty instantly. Some obviously you prefer to others. You know, just certain people that teach to suit you, and certain lecturers teach to suit different kinds of people. But yeah, I thought all really good lecturers, all very passionate about what they do, which is always really encouraging, I think. Those students, I know a few people from groups at the beginning. I actually met a girl through YouTube and we've been like meeting up and stuff, which is so nice. Again, you know, someone that relates to you from the course and just general living in London, everything else. And then people I met on placement, which is also nice. Sure, next year when we're in person, you can kind of get more of a feel for it, but like in the group chats and stuff, to be honest, I haven't really made much effort. I will do in person. Yes, but students generally seem really nice from who I know a bit better, I'd say. There's people you always prefer and people that you know you're just less likely to get along with, but that's just life. And then at the end of my first year, you also have to decide on your dissertation topic. We had a list of lots of them, and we had to choose 1 to 5 topics. You'd order them and then you get allocated to one of the topics. So my dissertation is on aphasia, and I think it'll be very, very interesting. I can speak a bit more about that if anyone's interested, but it's probably more general stuff is more beneficial. I know personally I prefer more general stuff. I've loved living in London this year. I'm very glad I moved. My 2 housemates are great as well. But yeah, I love living in London, even throughout lockdowns. Like, we didn't have a garden, which is something I missed, but there's a common nearby. And also, you know, it's so nice going to like a coffee shop and walking and doing my work in there. Obviously, I'm very fortunate to be able to live here. I start my dissertation stuff in the middle of September next year. Next year? It's not next year. It's in literally like 2 months time, less than 2 months, a month and a half. And then we start our course in the beginning of October, including a placement. And then its second year is rolling. That's my first year. I hope you found it helpful. Yeah, I hope you generally enjoyed it as a whole. If you did, please do give it a like and subscribe as well. I am going to be doing more videos to do with the course and also just my life generally in London. Let me know what you want to see. I find it really, really helpful. Like, I didn't think that I would get comments and things about what people like to see, but I love it and I find it very, very helpful. That's why I did the last video about the application process. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching.